Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has arrived in India's New Delhi for the G20 summit. Tinubu is one of the many high-profile guests who are attending the summit, including US President Joe Biden, UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, and Saudi's Mohammed bin Salman. Tinubu's reaching coincides with a key tribunal verdict on his victory in the February presidential poll in Nigeria. The verdict is expected later today. Congress chief Sonia Gandhi has written a letter to Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. She has explicitly expressed the India bloc's willingness to join the special parliamentary session and to utilize the opportunity to raise pressing matters of public concern. It has been reported that the letter also includes 9 other issues awaiting discussion. A meeting was held at Sonia Gandhi's residence on Tuesday, where the opposition parties of the India Alliance decided to ask the centre to maintain transparency in the special parliament session. Russia launched missile attack on Ukraine's capital Kyiv early on Wednesday. The capital's military administration said Ukrainian air defense systems shot them all down. Reports suggest witnesses in Kyiv heard several blasts which sounded like air defense systems being deployed. Now, air raid alerts were issued across Ukraine. The airstrikes have killed a civilian and caused a fire and damage at Danube River port. Top US diplomat Antony Blinken arrived in Kyiv on Wednesday. The visit is a gesture of support as Ukraine's counteroffensive against Russian forces grinds into its 4th month with only small gains. During his 2-day visit, Blinken will likely announce a new package of US assistance worth more than $1 billion. Blinken is expected to meet President Volodymyr Zelensky and Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba, among other senior officials. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov arrived in the Indonesian capital Jakarta on Wednesday. Lavrov is taking part in the latest Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, summit. Opening the summit on September 5th, Indonesian President Joko Widodo warned against countries in the bloc getting dragged into big power rivalry. Adding to unease about ASEAN's relevance, US President Joe Biden is not attending the talks. Vice President Kamala Harris will attend the summit instead. Suspense continues over US President Joe Biden's India visit, even as he tested negative for COVID the 2nd time in 24 hours. United States' First Lady Jill Biden tested positive for COVID-19. But hours later, the White House confirmed that Joe Biden tested negative. President Biden is scheduled to visit India for the G20 summit. He is also scheduled to engage in a one-on-one meeting with Prime Minister Modi ahead of the summit on Friday. Enrique Tario, a former leader of the Proud Boys group, has been sentenced to 22 years in prison for his role in the Jan 6, 2021 US Capitol riots. This is the longest sentence so far in the case. The 39-year-old offender's lawyers say that he would appeal the verdict. Tario's lawyers added that his absence from Washington on Jan 6th, the result of another judge's earlier order, meant that he had no direct influence on the riot. US President Joe Biden has awarded the Medal of Honor to Larry Taylor, an Army pilot from the Vietnam War. Facing almost certain death, Taylor risked his life to rescue a reconnaissance team that was about to be overrun by the enemy. Biden recognized Taylor at a White House ceremony. The U.S. Army pilot received scores of combat decorations, including the Silver Star, a Bronze Star, and 2 Distinguished Flying Crosses. The mud-sunk roads leading out of the Burning Man gathering have now been reopened, allowing thousands of people to move out of the remote Nevada Desert Festival. The escape comes after the attendees had been trapped for days in sludge. When the road finally reopened, a long line of vehicles snaked through the desert, inching along in an epic traffic jam. Unexpected summer rain turned the week-long annual Counterculture Arts Festival into a muddy nightmare. Some of these attendees have chosen to stay another day to watch the festival's giant namesake effigy go up in flames 2 days past schedule. In a new win for the LGBTQIA+ community, Hong Kong has finally announced that it will now recognize same-sex couples as legal. The top court, however, has reserved the marriage rights for same-sex couples for the time being. Hong Kong's top court partially approved the landmark appeal, calling for new regulations for gay couples to protect their basic social needs. It was the first time that the court directly addressed the issue of same-sex marriage. The Syria civil defense volunteers and journalists took shelter from heavy shelling in an opposition-held region in northern Syria. Syria civil defense suggested in a social media post they were deliberately targeted. The opposition war monitor reported that Russia conducted airstrikes in Jabal al-Zawiya in the Idlib province before the Syrian army shelled southern villages. Japan's Foreign Minister Hayashi held talks with his Arab League counterparts in Cairo. Hayashi said that the current political climate is a historic turning point and warned against the use of force anywhere in the world. The group discussed the Ukraine-Russia war and the conflict between Israel and Palestine. He also warned that Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine was shaking the very foundation of the international order. The Arab League chief Ahmed Abul Gheit expressed gratitude to Japan for its support of the Palestinian cause and stated that the Arab world will always defend the rights of the Palestinian people. Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen has begun her 4-day trip to the African nation of Eswatini, one of the only 13 remaining allies of the island nation. Tsai is visiting the country of 1.1 million people in southern Africa. Now, China has been asserting pressure on countries that have a diplomatic relationship with Taiwan to switch their formal recognition from Taiwan to China. The effort has been successful in poaching 9 countries, leaving Taiwan with just 13 countries that acknowledge its statehood. Taiwan's most recent diplomatic loss was Honduras, which switched recognition to Beijing in March. Perus workers are peeling down a wall stone by stone that stands between 2 neighborhoods, dividing them based on their economic standpoint. The meter-high wall crossing the rolling hills that separate Lima's wealthy neighborhood of La Molina from the poorer district of Villa Maria del Triunfo has been noted as discriminatory by Peru's constitutional court that ordered the tearing down of the wall. The court's ruling stated the wall affects the right to free transit and harms human dignity. Emergency crews have been deployed to respond to flooding in Turkey's northwestern province of Kırklareli. Emerging videos show excavators and military vehicles reaching wooded areas covered in floodwaters as the helicopters surveyed the area. The Ministry of Interior Disaster and Emergency Management Presidency said teams were dispatched following reports of 12 people stranded. The ministry also said 2 dead bodies were recovered as personnel searched for 4 missing citizens. At least 22 people have died in southern Brazil due to a fierce storm that caused floods in several cities. The death toll is the state's highest due to a climate event. About 60 cities had been battered by the storm, which was classified as an extratropical cyclone. The Rio Grande do Sul state government said that at least 1,650 people have been rendered homeless by the storm so far. A previous extratropical cyclone in June had killed 16 people and caused destruction in 40 cities. Japan's fisheries agency has been testing fish caught off the coast of Fukushima Prefecture daily since the country began releasing treated water from the nuclear power plant into the sea last month. The result is published on the website of Japan's fisheries agency every day except for days when setting up nets to catch fish is impossible due to bad weather. Reports suggest the agency has so far not found fish that contained detectable levels of radioactive isotope tritium. Deforestation in Brazil's Amazon in August fell to its lowest level for the month since 2018, falling to about 66.11%. This is a significant mark for its environmental policy, defying the trend of rise around this time of year. In the first 8 months of the year, in-pace figures showed deforestation has fallen a cumulative 48% from the same period of 2022. Satellite data from Brazilian Space Research Agencies indicated that over 500 square kilometers of rainforest were cleared in the month. According to reports, too many Australians have been ignoring the rules on recycling bins. Now, recycling is a crucial step in achieving better environmental health. The waste processing industry said that the food which could be turned into compost is being thrown into landfills, while plastics are in food bins. The industry that deals with the recycling of food and garden waste in Australia says there is an urgent need for the public to be more educated about the recycling habits to avoid the high levels of contamination from plastics. Farmers in rural Kenya are turning to mobile solar-powered cold storage facilities. Now, these storage houses can help reduce the amount of produce that rots in high temperatures and goes to waste. Many do not have access to adequate cold storage facilities, which means large quantities of produce perish in outside temperatures. An estimated 30 to 40% of horticulture produce in sub-Saharan Africa spoils before reaching market due to informal and unreliable supply chains. The war raging in Ukraine has brought a renewed focus for many in Europe on the lives lost in World War I. The countless headstones, graves and memorials across the region are a timeless testimony to the cruelty of war. Dotted along the former battle lines of the 1914-1918 Great War that killed some 10 million soldiers, Belgium and France want them recognized as UNESCO World Heritage Sites to make sure people stop and think. Both nations want UNESCO to include the area on its famed list of sites along with the Great Wall of China, Peru's Machu Picchu and Greece's Acropolis. The Wall Street Journal reports that SpaceX CEO Elon Musk tapped the rocket maker for a $1 billion loan around the time he was acquiring social media company X, formerly known as Twitter. SpaceX reportedly approved the loan, which was backed by some of Musk's SpaceX stocks. The report further suggests that Musk drew all of it down the same month. Well, the AI space is heating up with China's internet giant Tencent Holdings set to unveil an AI chatbox tomorrow. It comes after China started to approve AI chatbots for public release last month. Other big tech companies in China include Baidu Inc. released their AI chatbox last week. Artificial intelligence has been the big draw for investors and companies since the beginning of 2023. Meanwhile, Google plans to allow all types of real money games on its Play Store in India. That will be approved by self-regulatory bodies once the new regulatory framework is put in place in the country. The move will likely be a shot in the arm for skill-based gaming companies that are currently reeling under the government's recent 28% GST regime on real money gaming segment.